Okay, test. Are we ready? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to our Nampa City Council meeting. We appreciate you all being here this evening, and we do also appreciate the people joining us online. I love the tradition that we have, that we open in prayer, and I so appreciate a Nampa resident and former pastor, Dustin Yankovic, that has joined us this evening. So, Dustin, would you open us in prayer and in the pledge? Absolutely. Thank you.
Let's pray. Father, I thank you so much, Father, for your goodness to us. I thank you, Lord, for your love. I thank you, Father, for sending your Son, Jesus, to die on the cross on our behalf, and that we can cling to him and know what real hope and real eternal life is. Father, I pray for this group of men and women, Lord, who lead our city. Jesus, would you give them wisdom and understanding? Father, I pray that you would help them to know the intricacies of the issues they discuss. Give them foresight, Lord, and wisdom as they think about the implications of their decisions. And God, give them a sense of peace and unity among them, Lord, knowing that your Spirit cares very much for this city and cares very much for them individually as well. And Lord, we just lift up the city of Nampa to you tonight. Father, I pray for its residents. Lord, would you bring prosperity and goodness, your blessing on this city? Would you bring your blessing on these residents, Father? I pray, Lord God, that our city would turn to you, that we would look to you as our sole provider, protector, Father God, the one who intimately made us and created us and knows us each by name and knows us so well that even the very hairs of our head are numbered and known by you. Father, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight, to open this city council in prayer. I pray that this would just be a symbol of a true heart calling of its leaders and its residents and a desire to yearn and be more like you. We thank you for all these things. We pray again for your presence here tonight. We know you are here, that you love us and care for each of us. In Jesus' name, amen. To the flag in the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dustin, thank you again for being here this evening. Thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Okay, let's start with roll call.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Ingula.
Here.
Bills.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Haverfield.
Here.
Griffin.
Here.
All present.
Regarding proposed amendments to the agenda, we do want to announce that 8.2, which is a public hearing, was withdrawn by the applicant. And then later, we will ask for a motion to continue 8.3 on the agenda to date certain of 10/21. However, that will happen during the public hearing process. So with that, are there any other proposed amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, our consent agenda. I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as given.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda, I believe, are proclamations. And we have two proclamations this evening, and our first proclamation is actually Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. And I think I had Jean down to receive that, is that correct? I'm not sure. Are you our team that's going to receive this? Thank you, Claudia. I appreciate that. So I'm going to read the proclamation, then Claudia, you'll be our spokesperson, I'm guessing, and I'll have you come over in just a minute and we'll give this to you. So whereas we desire to be a safe and healthy community where people prosper and have a shared value for the well-being of all residents, and whereas mental health crisis impacts all demographics across our community, approximately every 21 hours an Idahoan dies by suicide. And suicide continues to rank as one of the top leading causes of death in Idaho. For too many of our friends and families, far too many of our friends and families have been impacted by a death by suicide. And whereas our community will take individual and collective initiative to promote mental health awareness, suicide prevention, including stigma reduction, increased help-seeking behavior, connection to resources, and whereas the community partnerships among municipalities, law enforcement, first responders, schools, community organizations, and businesses promote hope, connection, belonging, and a sense of shared purpose. And whereas a community invested in the well-being and support of our residents helps to reinforce the message that we can all be the one to make a difference and save a life. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim September 2024 in the City of Nampa as Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. And I will say, Amy, you brought Ella today to be a part of this. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for making a difference in your schools, because that's important. And Claudia, who would like to receive this evening and say a few words? Do you want to go ahead and come forward to the mic? There you go.
We have police, counselors, we have Ella as our youth, Amy that helps us. Go ahead and come up, everybody. And just thank you so much for taking time. Nampa is particularly a close-knit community, and I think that because we have such caring, compassionate professionals, our first responders, as well as our fire department, we just thank you for calling attention to it, and we're going to go through and give out some stickers as well. So I know the fire department came for a different reason, but they're our first responders too, and our EMT as well, and they want to go from first responders to first preventers, because there's nothing more sad than when they're called out on a self-inflicted death, and there's nothing they can do about it. We want to get it at the prevention level, and attention like us this helps us do it.
Thank you. So I would love our police, fire, anyone else that would like to be a part and say suicide prevention is important. I'd like you to come forward. We'll give you this, and let's take a picture in council. Come on over. Give that to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. Oh, thank you. Appreciate your work. Thank you. Thank you. And our next proclamation is actually Constitution Week. I so appreciate the Daughters of the American Revolution group for all the work that they do. And so thank you for being here. I will read this, the Mohawk. You come forward, share a few words, and then we'll take another photo. So, whereas September 17th marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to read, study, and celebrate America's founding documents and to protect the freedoms set forth in the Bill of Rights, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas it is important to commemorate the historic anniversary and the patriotic celebrations which occur, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd in the City of Nampa as Constitution Week in Nampa, Idaho, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. I love that. When we actually, and I will say, when we take time to study not only the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but the original founding, the individuals who thought through that very important document, and we understand who they were and what they believed at the foundation of this nation, it's critically important to the continuation of this nation. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Feel free to come forward and introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kling and council members. My name is Peggy Orabea, and I serve as chapter regent of Idaho chapter. And with me today is our Constitution Week chair for our chapter, Sarah Fulks. Daughters of the American Revolution was founded in 1890, and DAR is a nonprofit, non-political volunteer women's service organization dedicated to promoting patriotism, historic preservation, and education. It is our privilege to encourage study and to educate the public about the Constitution, which was adopted on September 17, 1787 in Philadelphia, after 4 months of writing and deliberation. 2024 marks the 69th anniversary of Constitution Week, which is celebrated from September 17th through the 23rd each year. DAR was instrumental in getting the designation and petitioning Congress for a resolution. Following the passage of the resolution by both houses of Congress, President Eisenhower issued his proclamation on August 19, 1955. The following year, this week of observance was signed into law. As an organization, DAR marks this annual event by requesting a proclamation from the city as well as ringing bells in celebration, just as they did in 1878, as the news spread from town to town. Now, before we ring our bells, to acknowledge the importance of the founding document of our nation, we have passed out pocket constitutions that are yours to keep. Now, did everyone get a pocket constitution? If not, we'll get one to you before. Perfect. Please take a moment to look at our most prized document of our great country. Idaho chapter has a Constitution Week display on the 3rd floor of the Napa Library, if you'd like to check that out. Now, we may ring our bells. Thank you for your time and honoring our Constitution.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Would you come forward? Let's do a photo. There you go. Thank you so much for your work. It is wonderful. Well, come in here and center. Thank you. You look so pretty, guys, in your stuff. Are we here? There you go. Thank you so much. We appreciate you keeping us on task and educated. Thank you for all you do. Take care. The next item on our agenda is actually our public forum. And we're going to start tonight with the Nampa Fire Department presentation before we step into the rest of our presentations. So I think we have an annual Fill the Boot drive. Would that be correct? Come on forward and let's hear about it. Good-looking boot and helmet.
I brought my props again this year.
Okay, you're not wearing the helmet. Oh, there you go.
So it looks like there is a couple new members on the council since last year. So what we're presenting tonight is we're looking to put a fundraiser on where we pretty much stand in the street with these boots and we collect funds that go towards the Muscular Dystrophy Association. These funds are used to fund research for medications, treatments, therapies. They also support families in need that are going through the difficulties associated with this disease. It's an array of diseases, actually. Muscular dystrophy, you want to hold up that sign? ALS, what else is on there? And other related diseases. So, first off, thank you for your support in the past. Last year, we raised $24,105. And we were only in the streets from 8 a.m. until 2. So that number could have been a lot higher. And so thank you for your support, and also thank you to the generous citizens of Nampa. These funds don't go to waste. And yes, is there any questions regarding the fundraiser? No?
I will say I drove through last year, and you know what was great? You guys were so efficient. There was not a traffic backup. It worked beautifully. So good for you, and here we go again, right?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
always worried that we might be causing trouble, but.
No, I didn't
like
see any, so
everybody's
I thought if there were any questions about it, at least last year I was there, did great, good job. And are you going to walk around with your boot?
Well, yeah.
I think you should.
Let me,
Come on.
this is Ivy Denon, and my name is Drew Olson.
Ivy.
But she's going to be taking over for me as coordinator in the future, so we wanted her to be here tonight so I could introduce her. And she's going to do a great job.
Good job. Welcome, Ivy.
Yeah.
Good job.
On the boot.
That's good. You can start with us. Start with us, and then we may go on, and then, yeah, just start whichever end you want to start with. We're good. I'll have to drive
The only
by.
one without cash. I will.
I'm going to drive through just to make sure it's going well. I'll drive through and say hi
Yeah, that'd be great.
without
Love
stopping
to see you.
traffic.
Oh, that's a great point. So October 5th is the date that we're going to be doing this, and it's going to be from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. The intersection of North Side and the Boulevard.
So
Boulevard
October
Boulevard.
5, 9 to 3, did you
9
say?
to 3, yep. And then we'll
It's
also be
Nampa Caldwell
posting
Boulevard in North Side.
QR code on the Nampa Fire Facebook page.
Okay.
And so that's another way you can donate as
Good.
well, through that QR code.
Thank you. Do we share that on our page? We'll share their page on our page. Yeah, so we will do that.
We don't have it up there yet, I don't think. Did we put the QR code up, Ivy? Yeah, it's on the Okay, it's on there.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. It's good to
Appreciate
see
you being
everybody
here.
again.
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you guys for your work. Okay. Okay, so our next item on the next person signed up is,
Madam Mayor, our first person under non-agenda items is Nolan Laurie.
Nolan, are you here? It's great. Go ahead and come forward. And Victor Rodriguez is actually going to introduce Nolan. So Nolan, come forward, and Victor will meet you at the front. No. Come on up here. Walk clear to the front, and Victor will meet you right there. Victor, thank you for introducing Nolan to us.
Welcome. Is Mom and Dad's coming? Okay. Thank you. My name is Victor Rodriguez. I'm a Nampa City Councilman. I live at 1854 West Creek Court in Nampa. I was honored the other day because when I came home, there was this there's this piece of paper at my house, and it said, Nolan Lowry, do you need any help around the house? I am 11 years old, and I want to earn some money. I have experience in mowing lawns, picking up dog poop. Yeah, that was a good one, though. And general yard work, shoveling snow and raking when season. Call if interested. And he has a little mowing the yard, as a diagram, mowing the yard and shoveling snow. So I called Amy's the mom, Amy Lowry, and Will, and spoke with Nolan. Nolan is 11 years old, and it makes me mad because he's as tall as I am. So what a great idea this was, because it's something that the kids want to do. They want to go out and work and give themselves a job and feel good about what they do. It all comes from the mom and dad. So I want to introduce Nolan to you so you'll know who he is and why and what's built behind him. So Nolan.
Hi. Hi, and thank you so much for the chance to speak tonight. My name is Nolan, and I am almost 11 years old. My birthday is in 2 weeks. I'm in 5th grade, and I'm starting at Lakefield Elementary this year. My teacher is Mr. Young. I am going to be tested for the Gifted and Talented program, and I get all A's. I started mowing my lawn when I was 7 years old with supervision, of course. I only mowed my lawn for the first couple of years. I've been picking up after my dogs the year before, and now understood how important that was. I kept picking up after my dogs and mowing, and I did a much better job at picking up their waste when I was the one mowing. After that, my grandpa asked if I wanted to come and mow their lawn and pick up after their dog. My parents said that I could do it, and they were my first official customers. Then I needed to learn more. So I asked how to weed eat or trim edges. My parents showed me how to do this, and I started practicing more on my lawn and my grandparents. The next year, I got another job at my other grandpa's house. I shared it with my cousin, so I did the front, and he did the back. I usually ended up doing the whole thing, though. My grandpa noticed this and asked if I could just take the job and mow the entire lawn all summer. I took the job, of course. This past summer, I grew my business a little more and added a few more customers that were friends of my parents and my other grandparents. I decided after talking to my family that I wanted to make my business public and try to get more customers. I wanted my service to be more available to the people around my neighborhood and close by. I made these flyers with my mom and dad and started riding around and stuffing mailboxes with them. I bought an electric scooter with the money that I had earned from mowing family and friends' lawns, and now I have transportation that has made it a lot easier to get to other houses that are a little farther away. I would love to grow my business even more in the future and make it possible to more people, and maybe even someday get a license into an LLC. That would probably have to wait until I am at least old enough to drive. I also want to say thanks to Victor Rodriguez for taking a chance and making all this possible. I think being here will be really helpful for my business and show other kids that it's possible to start a business at even 11 years old. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your initiative. Let's do a picture. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also have these if anybody's interested.
Okay.
He wrote that entire speech
Victor.
by himself,
Did
and
you
his
get
mom
this?
proofread
You
it.
got it. You've got both. Okay, thank you. Well, you can go ahead and do that. There you go. Yes. Thank you. Well, we'll take for those up here, we'll take a couple. Here we go. I don't want to take all of them because we don't have that many up here. Yeah.
And one to the chief back there.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Well, thank you. We'll pass these around.
I was on my tip of like taller than you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Great presentation. Great job. I don't know if you guys, yeah. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else? Okay. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, we do have two other speakers under our public forum. Our first speaker is Robert Kuhn.
Hello again.
Hi, Robert, you're back.
So,
Go ahead and give us your name and address again.
My name is Robert Kuhn. My address is 121 Hudson, Apartment A, and zip code 98, the zip code. The reason I came up here today is because we're still having a noise thing going on. And it's just not my neighbor, but there's other vehicles that comes by with it blasting out. I'm also talking for my other neighbors who could also hear it. One can't get up fast enough to record it, and we're just getting a little tired of it, and something has to get done where it's just not at night, it's all hours, and it's just too loud. It's just people who has health issues doesn't need that. And I've looked over the Idaho Code of Noise, and it just doesn't seem like it's getting done. I've called the dispatch, and they didn't do anything about it because there's really nothing they could do about it except the Idaho Code said anyone that's blasting high pitch or thing, but you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's just becoming a nuisance around there. I could hear my neighbor all the way from Yale Street just blasting it. And when he gets to my house, he finally turns it down, but you could still hear it all the way from there.
Okay.
So,
Robert, thank you so much for coming. And I'm going to ask Peter, I just want to make sure that you are working with legal and that we're discussing what actions can be taken, and then you can brief me on it, and then let's just ensure we have follow-up. I just need to make sure that we understand fully, is it a change in ordinance, is a code, is there truly nothing? But I'd like to make sure that we are following up, that we're having internal discussions, and then also following up with you, Robert. So
okay.
Thank you for being back.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, our next speaker is Holly Hawes.
You know, my friend, I'm a little froggy, my friend Matthew is going to come, but he's having migraine problems. My biggest concern, and I live, Holly Hawes, 120 Hudson Avenue, Apartment B, that's in Nampa. My main concern is the speed. And if we think the law is already in place. There are laws and ordinances already in place. Where there's homes, they're supposed to be 20 miles an hour. Ring your bell if you go 20 miles an hour. I mean, it's easy to go faster. If you get in a hurry to get to a place or go to work, I understand that. But I think if there were more visible signs, one of the streets actually made their own, but they're not up where you can actually see them in the face. During these 2 weeks between the last meeting and this one, I sat out on the edge of the street quite a bit to try and take pictures as people were zooming by. But I'm not very tech savvy, first of all, but I had a hard time catching those that were going really fast. And the three that I did catch going fast did not have rear license plates. And some of the ones that I've actually heard, like 1:30 in the middle of the night, that I heard them racing because they were carrying tractors and whatever they're hauling. I even saw a truck before I started taking pictures, zoom around the corner, a huge truck carrying hauling two separate things with 4 cars on each of the trailers. And he was going very fast. I have young neighbors, some on Hudson Avenue, and it's the same on many other streets in our area. I understand that. My daughter also lives in Nampa, but it's further south, but they have the same problems. The law is in place, but they're not being obeyed. And I know that the police are sometimes overwhelmed. I hear sirens. I know they're trying with all different things that they're working with. I just think there may be something that we could do to help a little bit more. And my thinking is speed bumps would be great. I don't know how much those cost, but maybe there should be funds available for that. Sometimes I think if someone were just on the corner of Hudson and what's the next street, Yale, is it Yale? Yale or Canyon, on either end, if there was a camera set up high that could actually judge the speed and see who's on the street, because I know that if trucks do not have business on the streets, they're not supposed to be coming on the streets with their towing their trailers and so forth, unless they actually have business on the streets. And
Madam Mayor, time.
Okay, I guess that's all I've got. But basically, and I wanted to thank the police, and I know that everybody in this council is trying so hard too, and I really appreciate your effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone else that did an advance sign up.
Okay, so we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have we done 4? We'll do up to 5. Is there anyone else that had intended to testify that did not get signed up? Okay, thank you. Okay, it is 6:05 and it is time to begin public hearings. And Crystal, are you on tonight? Okay, let's go ahead and do our 2 staff communications. And then we will I do want to mention 2 things. I'm going to say something while Krista's coming up. So on the consent agenda this evening, we did have Wendy Rhodes and reappointment to our Nampa Development Corp. And so Wendy's here tonight. Wendy, thank you. You have been affirmed. Thank you so much. That happened on the consent agenda earlier, but I just wanted to say thank you for your service. We appreciate it greatly. Thank you. So you're in. Here we go. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. And then Rodney, if you can be ready to go the second she's in, we'll just quickly go through both, and thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I actually have a special guest with me. I'd like to invite Dan Gorley with Idaho Transportation Department. He's the engineering manager in charge of State Highway 16. We wanted to give you a construction update, so I will turn it over to him.
Thank you for the reminder and the look over there like I really need to go. Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to share today. As Crystal mentioned, my name is Dan Gorley. I work for the Idaho Transportation Department, and in District 3, I'm one of the resident engineers. I'm responsible for State Highway 16 from Franklin to just north of 2026 Shinden for that construction, but I'll give an update for the whole thing today. Let's see, Crystal, there we go. So what I'm showing here is the map of State Highway 16, and I was going to walk through, as I go through the slides, I'll get into a little bit of detail in different areas, but I was going to walk through from kind of going from north to south. And so just in general, a new interchange at I-84, I know that's south, but this is just the bullets I'm going to go through. And then we're currently doing 4.5 miles of highway between US 2026 and I-84, overpass over Cherry Lane and McMillan Road. I'll get into a little more detail of what we got going on right there. And then multiple bridges over irrigation canals and the railroad. We spent a tremendous amount of time between the irrigation seasons trying to get some of those facilities in last winter so we could keep some of this mainline construction going. And then some minor changes to local roads near State Highway 16, including some new roads. And then signalized intersections at Franklin and Ustick roads. A new interchange at US 2026, which has now started. So if you take a week and you drive by and then you take another week and you drive by, it's amazing to see some of the progress going on in some of these areas. So again, as I'm going from north to south, the picture that I have up on the screen, if you look towards the top, those are the north US 2026 Shinden. Those north ramps are complete. We continue to work on Shandon. Our goal is to have 4 lanes of Shandon open in this area before winter. So I think a lot of people appreciate that. And also in this area, hopefully those north ramps will be used as they're designed to, and that'll relieve some of the congestion in that area. Also in this area, as I mentioned, we are starting to build the interchange. This drone picture is probably a month old, but you'll see the abutment on the north side of Shandon's going up, so that bridge is starting to get built, and the embankment's starting to go up. So just within a few weeks, it's changed a lot from this picture. As we move a little more south, we're looking north. At the very top of the screen was US 2026, and then towards the middle of the screen is a McMillan structure, and then 5 Mile Creek. As of today, all that area is paved black, and we're getting ready to put the concrete paving on. Actually, going north of McMillan, there's 2 lanes of concrete paving in place right now, and that's happened in the last couple of days. So this is really starting to take shape. And here's a picture that I took, and that's not a drone shot. This is McMillan looking north, and this is McMillan looking south, and that is now black paved also as I drove to the presentation today. So we are making great progress. This is a picture of Ustick. Ustick, we'll start reconstructing Ustick, 4 lanes, probably this winter or in the spring, and this will take probably a little over a year. We're also going to start building the large MSE walls that go up and the abutments for the Ustick Bridge. The bridge is not currently under contract right now, but hopefully that'll happen in the near future. So as we work our way south, now we're getting into more of Nampa's jurisdiction, I believe. These 2 bridges you see in the middle are on State Highway 16 or 10 Mile Creek and Cherry Lane. As of today, we have Cherry Lane closed in this area. There is, when I drove by coming in, there is 1 girder going up on Cherry Lane. And then you also have your new road that is Quasi Place, and the bridge is going in there. So moving a little further south, now you can see Franklin. And just a little plug, I want to thank the City of Nampa, the staff that we're working with, folks like Crystal and Tom Points. Our interagency communications, I do believe, save or prevent a lot of issues, so that's been working pretty well. It allows the contractors and the planners of the different agencies to coordinate and know what's going on in this area. And so I believe that's been helpful because everybody's got their projects, but not everybody knows what's going on. So that communication's been helping out quite a bit. But anyway, Franklin, since this drone shot was taken, most of that concrete paving is complete now on Franklin Road. And then as we look a little further north, you have your railroad bridge. Just a few shots of that. These, as I drove by today, this picture is less than a week old. Those piles are installed now. And so we're making progress on the railroad bridge. We should be putting up girders before winter on this structure. And then your interchange on I-84, that's nearing completion. The paving's nearing completion. And so this project, this portion or phase of the project should be wrapped up this winter. And so that's an update. I wouldn't mind taking some questions if you have any.
Dan, thank you so much for being here. Council, do you have some questions? Do you have any questions? I don't see any, but I want to say, as I usually am driving by just on the freeway, so it's hard to look closely, but I have to say, as I glance over there, it's beautiful. You look at the, where the new road is in and how beautifully it is built. It's beautiful, great work. It's exciting. It's certainly massive change, but it's good. So thank you so much, and thank you for your work on it.
You bet. One thing I forgot that might be important to you is a lot of folks want to know when that last piece of Franklin's going to open. We're working on that. Our management's discussing the benefits of keeping it closed for the system interchange for the flyovers and the benefit of opening or closing it. There's some large embankments and pretty much a huge trucking operation in that regard. So they're currently working on that decision. If we kept it closed, the whole thing, system interchange and everything, it'd probably open up a little bit earlier. However, they're weighing other aspects of it in regards to the public also. So I usually get that question, but okay.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for your work, Crystal. Thank you. I appreciate you coming tonight, and Crystal keeping us apprised of the next steps as we go forward. You guys have done a good job in your public communication and hosting open houses that we can attend also. So thank you for doing that. It's worthwhile.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Mayor. Dan, I just want to say you guys have been phenomenal to work with. Our partners at ITD are just awesome people. We love seeing photos like this, and it's really exciting to be even a little sliver of seeing how State Highway 16 is going to change the face of transportation and really change the entrance into Nampa, so it's exciting. I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to invite Jeff up to give a really quick update, and then Public Works will be done.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I want to give you a brief update on our project at the wastewater plant, the water renewal plant. Couple things. The Pacific Northwest Clean Water Association was in town. That's our big conference, our regional conference. Thousands of people were there, downtown Boise. Huge number of engineers and people involved in that industry. Anyway, we had tours at the site. Tom spoke at the conference. Barry, one of our operators, spoke at the conference, did an awesome job. When they came out to the site, everybody's, just has glowing things to say about Nampa, about working with Nampa. We appreciate the work that was done by Jacobs. And so we have the Water College come out maybe 3 weeks ago, and had legislators from the area. They've viewed it. We have the Canyon County commissioners coming out this Friday to see the plant, and it was a momentous week. We got all of our acceptance testing completed, so all the new equipment, all the buildings, everything else. The last 30 days they've been testing and marking down, taking data points and seeing if it actually meets the specs, and it has. And so we're getting really close to being complete. We had a Water Renewal Committee meeting this week, so I want to thank Councilman Reynolds, Councilman Haverfield. The mayor's always involved in these things, but all the work that's went in, and it's so helpful to have the Water Renewal Committee when we bring things to council. So just appreciate the help that we've gotten over the years, and that's it.
That's wonderful. Jeff, thank you. So I don't remember if we invited City Council to join the commissioner tour, did we? We need to. Let's send an invite. We need to do it tomorrow so that we can notice it, because if we have more than 3, it'll be noticed. But I think we should, because I know that if City Council has not and would like to tour, I tell you, it looks amazing, and so this is a good time to tour. So why don't we use that opportunity, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, would love to have. Councilman Reynolds took it already, but it's a short tour. We won't go through the whole plant. We'll just go through the newer part where you see the recycled water. Amazing.
Send it out to all council. Based on responses, we'll get it publicly noticed, because we have to do that by Wednesday, I believe. No?
Thursday.
By Thursday?
Is it on Friday?
It's on, which day is it?
It's Friday at 2
It's Friday.
o'clock.
Okay,
Friday
so
at
we
2,
can do
yes.
it.
Thank you.
We can
post it by Thursday at 2.
Thank you so much.
Will do.
Rodney, do you want to do just a very quick planning and zoning update, and then we'll keep moving?
Yep, this is just for last week's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The first public hearing we heard was for Jackson's Food Store and Gas Station, conditional use permit at the southeast corner of East Franklin and Star Road, and the Planning and Zoning Commission approved that. The next one was a daycare just over by Lone Star Middle School, and that one was approved for up to 12 children. Next one was the Cornerstone subdivision, annexation, and short plat, and that one is on West Orchard Avenue, just west of Midland Boulevard, and it's 5 buildable lots for 2 family attached dwelling units and 2 common lots. So duplexes, and so then on 5 lots. And that one was recommended for approval, and that will come before you on the 4th of November. The last one is Silverland Park subdivision preliminary plat at Star Road and I-84, and this is for a commercial development with 18 buildable lots, and that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
What was that location again?
It's Star Road and I-84, so it's not, it doesn't have an address. It's 0 Star Road, but...
Can you give us an idea? So it's Robinson at that point when it goes over I-84. It becomes Star at Franklin. So is it on the north of the freeway, south of Franklin, on the east side, or where is that?
It's on the east side. That's
It's on the
correct.
east side. Is it on Franklin?
It's,
Or just on the east
I
side?
remember his name, and you would recognize it. I can't remember the exact person's name or the
Okay.
specific parcel, but
Okay.
it's over there near, it's across the street.
From Amazon.
From Amazon.
Basically. Yeah, it's on the other
And
side
to the
from Amazon.
south
Okay.
of Amazon a little bit.
A little bit
Yeah.
south. Okay. Great, thank you. And that was recommended?
That was recommended that was approved. That was a subdivision preliminary plat, so that was approved.
Okay.
No, it's a commercial subdivision.
Commercial.
Mhm. In the GB zone, GB1.
Okay.
Want to make sure it's commercial.
Yeah, same.
Rodney, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yes, I have
Okay,
just
yes.
one quick one. Rodney, just for the other council, and the house at Midland and Lake Lowell was finally tore down and it's gone. So it looks like the work is going to start on that. So that's just a bit of info. But I also am asking you, what's happening with that old house that's all boarded up at Midland and Lone Star?
Let me do some research, and I will send you some information. If anybody else would like that, I'm happy to.
Because I thought that we were going to send them a notice of...
Okay. Midland and Lone Star?
Right.
Mayor and council, I do drive by that on my way home and in every day, and I have seen people there doing work in the past month, cleaning up the property and doing some different things. We'll have to look at permits and what they have going on, but there has been some movement,
Okay.
at least in the last month.
Okay, thank you. If
Thank
you
you.
would, Rod.
Yeah, happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I would like to do 2 items very quickly, and I know we're really late getting started, but I'd like to start with 7.1. This is an action item. I don't know if Alan Perry is here. I don't see him here, but let's go ahead. This is to confirm the appointment of Alan Perry to the Building and Fire Code Advisory Appeals Board as the Fire Prevention Officer to complete an existing 2-year term that's expiring on January 6, 2025, and the information's in your packet.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 7.2 is an action item, and this is just authorizing the mayor to sign a lease with the Idaho Hispanic Foundation for the establishment and operation of the Community Resource Center in the Idaho Hispanic Community Center and the corresponding resolution that's with it.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you so much. As much as I know that we'd like to go through the rest of these, I think we're going to move, unless someone says there's a reason why we can't, I think we're going to go ahead and move to public hearing. Okay, here we go. So we are going to move to our first public hearing this evening. This is the public hearing to approve the proposed FY24 second budget amendment. Doug Racine, I believe, is online. And he will be providing the staff report. Leslie Howard has joined us this evening in case there's any questions or any need with Doug or any challenge with Doug being online. Doug, I see that you've unmuted, and thank you so much. So Doug, I'll let you get started. Council, you do have a hard copy in front of you. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Mayor. And I apologize for not being in person to present this. After my vacation, a death in the family took me out of away from home again, out of the state. So my apologies for this. But I believe if IT can share the file that I have shared, I don't know if it's up on the screen yet. Okay. Okay, it's not coming up on my screen. Is the file being shared? I can't see it on my screen.
Yes, Doug, it is on our screen in front of us, and and it is on Teams. I'm not seeing it on Teams, though.
Yeah, if we can get shared on Teams, then I could navigate through that a little more effectively.
Yeah. So we do need to share it on Teams. Rodney, are you able to help shift it? Okay, so we need it to be actually on the Teams page so Doug can see it, in addition to being shown in this meeting in this room. Oh, because Doug typically is sharing it from his screen. So Doug, thank you so much for sharing that, because typically, Doug, you would be sharing it from your screen on Teams, and so we're sharing it differently. So I think everyone here can see it. If you have a hard copy in front of you, you can walk us through it.
Well, I do. My team says that I am sharing it, but I'll go ahead and walk through it that way. I hope that people can follow along with me as I move down. What I would like to do is go to the bottom of the page in the amber. It's row 27 where it says total. Okay. And I want to walk through the total amendment, and then I'll go back to the details. This second file amendment is a total of $20,177,000, $761 total dollars. Out of that, the new items total the vast majority, $19,860,350, and only a small amount are carryover or rollover funds from general government of $317,000. As we go through and look at the bottom in the general gov funding, in the amendment, only $339,411 is in general gov. $7,184,680 is coming from department fund balances where we pulled out for various projects. And most of these in this column and in the next column showing new revenues of $12,653,670. Most of these items in these two columns have been culled from prior council meetings, which have included approvals for various public works projects. Now that you have an idea of the total scope, let me go back and pick up some of the key items that are being picked up here, included in the amendment. The very first line is ARPA funds. This $1,137,285 is primarily an acceleration of the use of ARPA monies for the water tower. This money was budgeted for in 25, but they will be very effective in how they efficient in building the water tower. So we pulled some of that money forward into 24 to help speed up the completion of that project. And that means that money will not be spent again in 24 because in 25 because it's spent in 24. The development services line and the economic development are just offsets moving money back and forth between the two different departments for budgetary authority in relation to some of the changes we made in the 25 budget for staffing, personnel, and structure between economic development and development services. That's just a wash back and forth between the two of them. We had $974,000 of engineer federal grants, primarily from the Karcher Wetland Sewer Grant. And again, this was approved in a prior council meeting. And then the biggest single item on here really is the success of the Fort Idaho Center. In the 24 budget, we budgeted light on expenses and revenues as they were second year of coming out of the post-pandemic recovery, and we weren't pushing an aggressive budget, but this represents an improved revenue and expense stream. The revenues were greater than the expenses by about $400,000 to $500,000, but in order to make sure that we have all the expenses budgeted, we brought this forward as an amendment in the fall of 24. Family Justice Center has some small increases related to grants and foundations and labor issues, as is this $22,000 value. This just next to it is for staff salaries that were approved back in April for some of the FJC leadership. You'll see an item on there, impact for fire department. This $2,672,540 is for pass-through monies. We collect the fire impact fees, process them, and issue them to the fire department. And this is the amount of money we collected during the year and processed and have passed through to the fire department. The $300,000 for the Nampa Police Department 911 has to do with the passing of the approval by the council a year ago to collect 25 cents of revenues from the cell carriers and pass that on to the state to allow us to be applicable applicants in the state pool for grants and other revenue sources for the 911 to pull on in future years. We didn't, at the time, we did not know exactly how much we were going to collect, as the 911 was really working hard to set our boundaries properly with the various phone companies. And so this looks like this is the correction we needed. There are additional grant monies coming in, new revenue for parks federal grants and police grants. Most of those are in the police, the $458,000 are for SIU, equity share, the BJAG, COPS grants, ITD, and federal and private grants. In the streets, this is the only significant draw from fund balance for streets, $5,236,000, and additional $2 million of new revenue for the projects listed, including Middleton Road, Franklin and Karcher Roundabout, Middleton and Iowa, Idaho Center and Cherry, Franklin and McDermott, and several other grants that are included on that. And these represent items that streets did not know were going to be completed or this year in 24, but looks like many of them will be in various stages of progress before we close out the year in the next couple of weeks. And then closing it out, wastewater had a small fund balance draw for Karcher Wetlands City Match, and the water department, $1,565,000 for 11th and Cherry irrigation project, and additional funding for smaller projects. So the significant amount of these funds are coming from new revenues, grants, and various other funded projects. A small amount in the department fund balance is $7 million. There were several items we did not include in the budget. If there is budgetary authority on a project, say the Fort Idaho Center had budgeted to buy a new, I believe it's a tractor, and the John Deere tractor, they went over by $8,500, but their other capital budgets were under. So we acknowledge they spent a little bit more on that, but they stayed within their total budgetary authority. And for the items listed on the bottom of the page, the 1 through 5 items, that's the similar type of a process where we looked at each item and determined if budgetary authority was necessary or not. Let me go back up to one item right here, the general government facilities. These are all rollover funds from 23 for projects council has discussed frequently over the last few months, for the Magnet parking lot, the flooring issue, seedling lighting in City Hall, and so forth. This is not new money. This is just bringing forward budgetary values that existed in 23 into the 24 budget as we're incurring expenses on those funds at this time. This is the essential presentation of the budget for the Second Amendment in FY24, and I would yield my time back to the mayor and council for any questions.
Doug, thank you so much. Council, do you have any questions? Doug, I don't see any questions at this time, so because this is a public hearing, just hang tight. We'll move into public hearing, and then we'll be right back.
Got it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, there is no one that did an advance sign up for this item.
Is there anyone here this evening that had intended to testify during the public hearing for our budget amendment for FY24? Seeing no one, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Doug, are there any closing comments, or council, do you have any questions before we move forward with Doug?
Just one final comment. I really need to acknowledge the significant efforts put in by Leslie and Diana to put this together in my absence. They've done an excellent job, and the city is well served by their efforts.
I would agree. Thank you, guys. They're sitting here, and we appreciate your work. Thank you so much. Okay. With that,
Madam Mayor?
yes, Councilman Rodriguez
Yes.
had a question, I
just
believe.
have a question, Doug. So why is the impact fire of $2,672,540 included in this budget when we actually don't even, we just give it right back to the fire department? Would that be a decrease of about 18 million then?
That's an excellent question, Councilor. The rationale is because the impact fees in total for all departments are collected through city processes. The building services functions to bill for those and collect them. So we collect for water, for police, for streets, for everybody. And because it's a pass-through money, where we're collecting both revenue and issuing payment, that goes through our budgetary system, and it needs to be recorded as both a revenue and as an expense. We don't keep any of it. We do collect a small processing fee for the work we do for the fire department, but it's just budgetarily required to show this as a pass-through money, and that's what we've collected this year and issued back to them.
Okay, and that's why you have the new revenue of the same amount, so, okay, I get it.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Councilman Reynolds.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. I move that we approve the proposed FY24 second budget amendment.
Is there a second to approve?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. And then at this time, I believe we have the first reading of ordinance adopting this budget amendment, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, amending the appropriations ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, appropriating additional monies that are to be received by the City of Nampa, Idaho, and providing an effective date.
Madam Mayor, I move this pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass under suspension of rules. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you all. Doug, thank you very much. And thank you,
Thank you
Diana
very much.
Leslie. Thank you.
And Mayor, if it's okay, I'm going to sign off, and I've got to drive back to southern Utah, and I need to head back to Idaho tonight, so
Be safe.
I will sign up now. Thank you.
Yeah, be safe. Thank you, Doug. Okay, that concludes our public hearing, 8.1 on the agenda. We're going to move to 8.2 on the agenda. And this item actually has been withdrawn, as we mentioned earlier, by the applicant, and so no action will be taken this evening. Moving on to 8.3 on the agenda, we have asked that this particular item be postponed. That said, we do want to open it. So as I move forward with this, I would ask for a motion to open public hearing and to postpone this item to date certain of October 21st.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
It's really nice to move through 8.1, 2, and 3 that quickly. Here we go, 8.4, and then we have 8.5 for public hearings. 8.4 is an action item. It is a variance of Nampa City Code 1022-5J6 requiring interior parking lot planters to allow the site to continue to accommodate larger vehicular traffic at 24 First Street South in a light industrial zoning district, which is a 5.85 acre parcel. For Dira Parker, Lombard Conrad Architects, representing the city of Nampa. And this is related to the City of Nampa Waterworks building remodel and expansion with minor site improvements for the continued use of the facility and site as a lay-down yard, requiring large trucks and semis to maneuver about the site. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening,
Good
Mayor
evening.
and Council. My name is Jared Schmidt. I'm with Lombard Conrad Architects. I'm filling in for Deirdre Parker. I'm here to talk about the City of Nampa Waterworks facility and ask for a parking island variance. This is the current site up on the screen on First Street and Northside Boulevard. You've got the existing two-story building for Waterworks, and then there's a couple of other ancillary shop buildings as well. As you can see on this site, it's an industrial site. They've got employee parking, parking for city vehicles, and then also semi-trucks as well that are entering the site and making deliveries for the Waterworks Department. This is the proposed site up on the screen here. The gray rectangles are the existing buildings. We're adding on to the existing building there, kind of in the center, lower part of the screen, where it says new single-story addition. It's an 8,000 square foot parking addition there on the site. You could see there too, right above that, there's some striped parking there. And so how they'll use that is it'll be for employee parking as well as vehicles for the city. And then also it'll allow for large semi-trucks to come into the site, exiting and entering, making deliveries on the site. And so that's part of the reason for the variance, or is the reason for the variance, is they want the flexibility on that site to make those deliveries and allow those large trucks. There's 29 required parking spots for this building. We're providing 50 parking stalls, which is for, again, the parking for the staff as well as for the city vehicles. And then this is a view here along First Street. So you can see off to the left on the screen is the existing building, and then the new proposed building is kind of in the center to the right. And in the lower left corner is a key plan there where it says 1 is kind of that view. So you kind of see that that building is starting to block the parking from view from First Street. And then we've got another view further down First Street here, again parking or blocking a majority of the parking on the site from view of the street. And then I guess that's it. So I'll stand for questions, or I could sit down for the report.
Mayor?
Yes.
So has there been any discussion about going to a solid fence? Or is there a screen fence filling in the chain link?
There hasn't been that conversation, no. As you can see on to the left, there's some landscaping that kind of blocks that, and we'll continue to provide additional landscaping too. I'll go back here. I went back too far, sorry. So we've got some more landscaping along the back side of that building, but I think that's something that could possibly be done.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So we're eliminating some of the landscaping islands, right?
There's not currently landscape islands on the site right now. It's just kind of an open yard with some asphalt and gravel parking.
This is a variance to not install landscape islands.
Correct. It's a variance to not, install those for the new addition. As part of that new addition that we're providing for the site, it's required to provide the parking, and then with that parking, there's a requirement for the landscape islands as well.
Correct. So so that's why I wanted the clarification. It seems like a screen fence would solve not wait for the vegetation to grow up through the fence. As an alternate to the parking islands.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that comment. What we might want to do is come back to that during our discussion with those that have worked with the water department on this particular project. We could maybe visit with staff about that. Any other questions? Thank you so much. We'll have you back.
Thank you.
Okay. Rodney, do you have are you going to also do a staff report on this one? Thank you.
All right. Mayor and Council, you've heard the request, and again, just to clarify and just to make sure this is very clear, the request is needed because of the expansion of that building. It would trigger the need to put in parking interrupts in the parking lot. And I'd like to get into the kind of some of the purpose behind parking interrupts in just a minute, but the comp plan, industrial, zoning, industrial, to the north is the railroad tracks, to the east is more of the equipment and storage for the city, and then to the south is IL, and then beyond that is the Phyllis Canal and downtown business zone and Burger King. To the west is BC, which is the Winco Shopping Center. There's the zoning, you can see a little bit closer, and the site. So here's the concept plan we received. You know the conditions of a variance. A variance is not intended to provide something that others in that same zone have an exception to the things that others in the same zone have to comply with, except that there's some unique circumstance related to that property. Typically, that's lot size, shape, or topography. Here's the variance criteria that they need to meet. Here's some of the parking code. This is all in your packet, so I'm not going to go over this, but here's all the requirements for why we, or what they would need to do with the parking interrupts. I will say that parking interrupts traditionally have been used not only for visual purposes, but also to provide some shade in a parking area, reduce the heat, and again, just provide shade for those who are parking there. Correspondence, we didn't really receive any significant correspondence. And the land use is an essential service provided to the city. The applicant argues that the ability to maneuver large trucks and trailers in the parking lot is essential for the government services to continue to be provided. Here's the formal findings, and there's multiple here, and I think hopefully we've all seen this in the staff report. I'm happy to go over each of these if that's necessary. I tried to really think through each of these conclusions and the facts on this one, just to be very clear. So happy to go through it if needed, but I'm going to skip over this unless you have any questions. And then here are a couple of motions for your consideration.
Rodney, thank you so much. Council, do you have any questions for Rodney?
I have a question.
Okay, Councilman Haverfield, then Councilman Rodriguez.
So, Rodney, when we're talking about site circulation of larger vehicles in and around where the parking stalls are indicated for public and staff parking, what happens to those cars then? Do they have to be moved out of the way for the larger vehicles to come through there? Or is it after hours circulation that we're talking about?
So
I'm not sure I'm
defer
clear.
to the applicant on that, but yeah, I'm assuming that's exactly what would have to happen. Is the employees parking there are told to remove their vehicles or whatever? Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not sure I see the hardship.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez?
Well, actually, I was going to ask one similar to that, so I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Mayor?
you. Yes.
And it might be for actual staff, but I think you know too, Rodney, how many folks end up visiting this site specifically that aren't staff, but rather the public going into that building?
Again, I would recommend we talk to the applicant on that. I'd imagine it's pretty low.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Rodney? Okay, thank you, Rodney. So this is a public hearing, but I might say, Jeff, we probably need you to come back at some point and answer. So at the conclusion, I'd like to have you come answer some of those questions as the staff representative. So,
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone that did an advance sign up.
okay, is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this public hearing? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. At this time, if the applicant could come back and answer any questions council might have, and then I would like to, then after that, I'd like to have Jeff come. Oh, I forgot that. I'm sorry. I was in such a hurry, but I think we're still okay. Can we? Okay, reopen. I forgot to have the I'm sorry. Okay, I'd stand for a motion to reopen public hearing so we can hear from the applicant. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you. It's Jared, correct? Yes. Thank you for coming back and doing, I just got ahead of myself, so thank you.
No, you're good.
I think there are a couple questions that maybe you could answer. If not, we'll have staff.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, council, do you have questions for Jared? Okay, any closing remarks at this time based on the discussion?
Yeah, I might add as well, Mayor and Council, that adding that parking to the landscape buffer would also increase the size of the footprint for this area too, so it would make it even more challenging for the semi-trucks to go in and out. And also, I'll also add that during the day when they're getting deliveries, a lot of those vehicles are out in the field. And so it opens up that area to allow for the semi-trucks within that yard.
Okay, great, thank you.
So clarification. The parking that is shown in your drawing, is that existing or being added?
That's what's being added there.
And so where's the impediment for the trucks?
So the impediment for the trucks is they come off of First Street. So they come into that kind of roundabout area and enter the site, and then they'll circulate through the site. And so they'll go down the drive aisle here where that hand is kind of at, and then circulate back around and out. That same entry point there. So if we had landscape islands in there, it would get in the way of the deliveries happening and unloading and loading of the semi trucks.
So what we're eliminating are the two islands on the ends?
There would actually be multiple islands in there. So there would be another intermediate landscape island in there as well, and then one down the center strip too.
Mayor, I think I could quickly address that.
Thank you.
You can hear me?
We can.
Okay. Every 90 feet is required to have another planter up, and so essentially every 9 spaces. So they would be removing anything in between here that would be required.
Thank you. This is, this is interesting. Candidly, I find it interesting that our code even requires this. This is very much industrial. This is it's a receiving area. It is totally a work area back in by the railroad tracks for the water department. So I don't even understand why we're not increasing our employee count. We're increasing space in a building. And if we were tearing up the parking and then redoing it, I could understand it. I'm really confused as to why we even are requiring this. Yes, Councilman Haverfield.
Well, part of the problem is the building itself has a large training area within it, which would then require the parking that's being proposed. As people come, people that are already employees there, but similar to what we just had out at the wastewater treatment facility, meeting in a smaller conference room. This meeting room would demand more parking because it's an assembly use.
Okay, that's why this is being required, okay. If it were commercial and on a commercial roadway and whatever, I could understand the beautification. For me, this is a very functional space that you need to have parking, and obviously, when I go out there, we're all parking in those same places already. So, but to put, I guess the question is, how important is it to have trees and to go to that expense as a city and to put all that in versus leaving it a very functional work area for the trucks and everybody to come in? Rodney, you
Just
have
a quick reminder, Mayor, so the financial part of that cannot be the reason that we look at for a variance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Mayor, be careful what you say, right? Thank you. Thank you.
We were all thinking that, though.
Okay. Are there any other questions for our applicant at this time?
I have a question for Rodney.
For Rodney, okay.
So Rodney, I don't know if, I guess you can sit there, but as described, a truck would come through, pull through the access lane between the building and the parking lot, and then make a turn and go back out that same point because of the Phyllis Canal. There isn't a secondary bridge that they can go out on that eastern side. Would eliminating some parking to allow the proper radius for a larger vehicle to make that turn and just eliminating a couple of parking spaces, unless you've done, or the applicant has already done an analysis of what, I guess, your radius is. It looks a little tight, the way that it's set up. You're going to lose some parking anyway, possibly. But Mayor, to your point, the shading and the parking area, how often it would be utilized and potentially a benefit to the employees parking in those parking stalls, I guess is just the question we're talking about tonight. We're not talking about the building itself at this point.
Okay.
I guess I just made a comment, not a question.
Yeah. Jeff, I'd like to ask Jeff, do you have any information that you would like to add to this discussion that would be of benefit to us?
Mayor and City Council, the site is quite small, so we also, to the right, store materials, and that's where our employees park. We've added 6 employees in the last 2 years, so that employee parking is kind of being stretched. And then we also, on just the storage across in those buildings, we store to the north side of the property, so you're seeing it kind of open there, but in the future, that area is all used, either materials or trucks, the personal vehicles of the people that work there. And so when you go to make that, and we ran an auto turn on it, it's just tight to work that radius with large trucks, and especially we'd have to move around our parking facility and some of our storage of our materials. So.
Thank you so much for that comment. Council, do you have any further questions at this time for the applicant? Okay, and staff? Seeing none, okay. With that, then, if it's okay, we'll stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this is an opportunity for council discussion and/or motion.
Well, again, comment earlier, which was too early. I still think it'd be appropriate to put up some screen fence. So when you're driving down First Street, you're just really not even seeing into the complex and the parking and et cetera, so.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion?
Mayor, is that something that we can necessarily tie to this variance approval, or would that have had to come earlier on?
We did take a motion to close public hearing. Yeah, we did.
I think you can
Thank
add
you.
it when they come back in. Building permit.
Okay, so I think there was a question regarding the visual barrier there and what we would do, and if it comes at this time, Councilman Haverfield thought maybe that discussion would come with a building permit. Rodney, would you like to speak to that? How do we address Councilman Bill's suggestion, or do we not do that in a variance?
Mayor?
Yes, thank you.
So I would say this is a city project. So if that's the desire of the council, Jeff will obviously have to look at funding-wise and what that will take. This isn't an industrial zone, so that fence would not just be a chain link with slats in it any longer. It would require design review and meet the codes. But if that's the desire of the council, obviously we can work on doing that, figure out what the budget would be, and bring that forward for approval if we can't fit it within the existing budget that we have for the project. If we can, then we'd just proceed with that if that's the desire of the council. Am I misspeaking there, Jeff? Okay.
So what I think I'm hearing is, don't leave it in the if there's a motion, leave that out of the motion. Council, and I know we have council members sitting with this project that are reviewing the project. It could come back for discussion with a budget associated. Then council will make the decision if we move forward with that based on that budget. So, and I think what I'm hearing is, yes, come forward with a recommendation. Let's review the cost, and then we'll go from there.
Well, objectively, we're being asked for a variance, even though it's for ourselves. And if it was somebody else, we would be saying you're eliminating landscaping, and therefore, how are you offsetting it? I think the private sector gets asked all the time to offset for variances on various issues, and yet we ourselves are wanting to have a pass. And so I feel objectively, we should at least look at it. If we could scroll up or down one or two slides, there was a picture that showed First Street looking into the back of the yard.
Currently, my understanding, currently, there's a barrier there, and then the building isn't there, and you can fully see into that yard with nothing, because there is no barrier currently.
Correct.
The new building will actually create a buffer to where you won't see that parking just with the addition of the building. It's just that the building doesn't go all the way to the end. But currently, there isn't any buffer there. Is that correct, Jeff? I mean, that, if you look in there, I know you're out there all the time. It's just a matter of thinking about it. This is currently what we have, correct? It's just there's not a building there. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
You believe, okay.
Well,
So you can't speak to that, Jeff?
well, the only thing that's there now is
This is there.
is a trailer. It's the mobile trailer that sits there, so that's the only difference.
There's an old trailer that sits there, but
and that'll
there's a
be
chain
moved.
link fence currently there, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so currently there's a chain link fence, but there is no barrier into the parking lot at all.
Correct, Mayor.
So the new building is an improvement because it's an improved barrier. It creates a barrier to where you don't see the parking, but that chain link fence is already there and it's already open, I guess is the point. It's not.
That's exactly.
This is much nicer looking than it was.
It is, but if we
An improvement.
go to other light industrial uses, mini storages, et cetera, we ask for barriers. We give exception to landscaping, but we ask for barriers. I just feel like as the city on our own project, we should be respectful and be close to what we're asking other property owners to do. So that's the only, that's the I mean, no change, it stays and looks like it always has. And that's what we live with in multiple properties throughout the city. They come in and say, hey, we want to do something nice and new. Look at our nice new building. And then we, the city, say, well, yeah, but now you got to have landscaping islands, you got to do this, you got to do that. And they come back and ask for a variance. Well, gee whiz, where did we do that for others? But we do it for ourselves. So I just want to stay objective.
Okay,
Mayor,
thank you.
do you have a ballpark on what it would cost for a project like this to do what Councilman Bills is recommending?
I have no idea.
Engineering?
Rodney, Patrick?
Again, cost shouldn't be in the mix.
Oh, that's true. Excuse me, so we cannot answer that question.
This is just about landscaping in general.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Mayor and Councilman Bills, we'll be happy to look at some type of landscape screening on the interior of the fence. I think that would be preferable over rather than taking out the fence and upgrading the fence. If we took out the fence, then we would have to put in, a screening fence, and we couldn't just put slats in the existing. So that's similar to the solution we did for the emergency tanks over at the Fleet Building, where we put arborvitaes behind the fence in order to screen. So we would be happy to look at that and bring that back to you.
Do we have irrigation available in this area to
We
where
do.
we could?
We do have irrigation
So we could put some
already.
arborvitaes or something along that area to screen that area?
And we're planning on doing some xeriscaping around the building to cut down on water usage, but that would enable us to, if we wanted to entertain more screening, landscaping, we would have the capacity to do that. So, but
Thank you.
we can explore that and bring that back.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Bills, would that suffice?
Well, all I asked for was some landscape screening, how you get it done. That's my point. There's others who may disagree and don't want it. I understand that.
It'll look nice.
I'm just trying to raise the issue of staying objective or even.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, what is the will of the council?
Mayor? And David Bills actually convinced me, but I move to approve the variance of NCC 10-22-5.J.6, requiring interior parking lot planners to allow site to continue to accommodate larger vehicular traffic at 24 First Street South in an IL light industrial zoning district for Pierdra? How do I say? Deirdre Parking, Lombard Conrad Architects representing City of Nampa, VAR-00165-2024 with all proposed findings of approval, as well as meeting the IL design review standards.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. My discussion would be, what is that? What are the IL design review standards that we would be? I think we need to understand that since we haven't talked about it, because we're saying the IL design review standards, if we're asking for a variance, but now we're saying we're going to meet IL design review standards, what is that meaning?
So Mayor, regardless, they would have to meet the IL design review standards.
Okay.
So it's two materials, it's mostly related to the building itself.
Okay, so that doesn't discuss the, what David Bills, that motion does not meet what David Bills suggested, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Because we have to meet those standards anyway. Okay, so I guess I would like to ask Councilman Griffin, would you like to amend your motion to include the piece that David Bills discussed, or not?
Yes.
Okay?
Mayor, can you be more specific as to what that is?
My amended motion would include the addition or construction of new screening fences
Or landscaping to screen it?
or landscaping to screen it.
Okay.
So Mayor, I had a question then for Rodney.
Okay.
Is that's a requirement of the design review anyway, is it not?
I'm sorry, I was speaking with Patrick. Can you
Okay.
repeat what?
The requirements of the design review application requires the screening or in the building, variation of building material types anyway.
So we have, it's kind of a unique situation, and Todd, I hope you can help me out here, but I think because there's an existing fence already there, sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. I don't think we would require fencing there to be screening what's already on the property.
Madam Mayor, without looking at chapter and verse, I don't know if I can comment on that. I think it is possible for you in the variance approval to say what you want to happen, as long as there's a nexus to what they're doing. And what Councilmember Bills described was we're removing some of the visual benefits with this variance, therefore we should provide additional screening. So I think you can do that, just articulate what it is you want.
And just so I'm clear, was the suggestion a screening fence or landscaping to screen? Is that what was being suggested here?
I think that's my understanding. Is that correct? It could be landscaping.
Yes.
Just as it previously, the first part of that has some greenery or something in that fence. So whether it be arborvitaes, whether it be landscaping, that there is a visual barrier that in exchange for this variance, that we would require a visual barrier within the fencing to help protect that parking lot from view. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that would be the motion. Would that be okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So my second's fine. Again, Rodney, if you were to look at Chapter 10 of the ordinance, it speaks specifically to landscape or landscape features, and I believe it speaks directly to fencing as well. And that would be a part of the design review requirement for an IL zone, correct?
Yeah, if it's in the IL zone, that would be required.
Okay, so that was the only point I was making, is as long as they go through the design review process, they will be subject to the same requirements that anybody else would be in an IL zone.
And in this case, if for some reason the barrier is not part of that, council has requested that there is a barrier there of greenery of some type to provide a visual barrier. So whichever way we go according to code, or in the event that there isn't, that it would be done.
I think that's clear.
Okay, so I think we have a motion and a second on that. Is there further discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
So I'm beginning to wonder if we're getting in the weeds here already, but this is using by tax dollars. That's the difference, Mr. Bills. So I need to see how much and what it's going to cost before we approve anything like this.
Well, I can appreciate using tax dollars because it's near and dear to me on that, but it's also near and dear to many applicants when city design standards add to their budget, because we want to see projects beautified. We don't want to look into somebody's IL construction yard or parking area and see junk. And so we as a city require those areas to be screened, and we have ordinances that speak to it, and design review that speaks to it, and yet because of budget, we're exempt. That seems like we're hypocrites, candidly. And so I just feel like we should stay objective and try to be fairly similar with ourselves as we are with the public.
Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Is there any further comment? I think one thing is that we have already budgeted this project. If we run over budget, it'll come back to council for discussion and approval for any variance in budget if we happen to run over budget. Otherwise, we are accountable to the council to work within budget. So I think with that, if this takes us out of budget in any regard, we'll come back to council and have a discussion.
Just one question with regard to that comment, Mayor. Originally budgeted, we budgeted for those planters, correct?
I could not answer that question. I don't know.
And my rationale, whether it be or not, my motion still is the same, but if we budgeted for those planters, then that line item's just going to be moved to the fence line anyway, and we won't be going over. So my motion continues to be what it is.
Okay, thank you. Good point. Okay, if there's no further discussion, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Well, I approve the variance, but I still don't approve the fence line, but I'm going to go with Mr. Bills and say yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Reynolds. Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Welcome.
And I mean, it's all.
It's a good point, David. I know.
So 8.5 is an action item. This is annexation and zoning to RS 8.5, which is single-family residential and a potential development agreement, if needed, at 1158 South Paroline Road. This is a 1.01 acre parcel, and this is for Ruth. Ooh. Say that again? Kamichek, thank you. And this is for connection to city services. So Ruth, you're here. Come on forward. Please go ahead and state your name and address and tell us a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish.
My name is Ruth Kamichek. My address is 13788 Roby Creek Street, Nampa, and I am remodeling this house and would like to annex into the city so I could have access to city services. That's it.
That's it. That was very succinct and straightforward, and thank you. Council, do you have any questions for her? Okay, stay put. I mean, you can sit down and then we'll have you come
Okay,
back.
sounds great.
Before I close public hearing, so, okay,
great,
thank you.
Can you be as fast, Rodney?
That was really fast.
That was excellent, yeah.
Okay, she said the purpose. Planning and zoning did recommend approval of this. Canyon County and the applicant is the owner, excuse me, this is in Canyon County and the applicant is the owner. The comp plan is medium density here. The zoning, you can see here on the screen, RML across the street. The road is RS6, but it's in the county. It's a part of a larger infill area that could be developed in the future. But it's just requesting annexation for that one single parcel. The sewer and water and irrigation are all available. Here are the criteria you have to use for both annexation and then zoning. Here's the spatial and bulk requirements. Those are all in your packet. Again, not really applicable because it's an existing single-family home. Engineering's comments, pretty standard. Building comment, and then the properties in the medium-density residential designation in the comp plan, future land use map, and that fits within that designation. The RS 8.5 does. The comprehensive plan supports this type of development for the zone. Here are the proposed conditions, proposed findings for both annexation and then zoning. And then here are a couple of motions for your consideration. It's fairly
Question, Mayor.
fast.
Yes, thank you, Rodney. Yes, Councilman Bills?
So Rodney, just clarification, as part of the annexation, is there the dedication of right-of-way?
Yeah, that's a part of the conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Rodney, I'm sure you have, but I'm going to ask a question anyway. Have you visited with the applicant where they fully understand all the requirements of the
Yeah,
city?
they were, all these same conditions were provided to them in the staff report for planning and zoning. They came to the meeting, that was discussed, and then I provided them the staff report again.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for Rodney? Thank you, Rodney. Sure.
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone that did an advance sign up.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this particular public hearing? Seeing no one. Our applicant, do you have any further comments?
No.
Thank you. Staff or council, do you have any questions for, I'll get it right. Do you have any questions for the applicant? None? Okay.
I move that we close public hearing.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? What is the will of the council?
I move to recommend approval of the annexation and zoning to RS 8.5 Single-Family Residential Potential Development Agreement, 1158 South Power Line Road, a 1.01 acre parcel. Parcel number R323650, located in the northwest quarter of Section 35, Township 3 North, Range 2 West, Boise Meridian for Ruth Kimmick. Annexation ANN 307-2024 with the proposed conditions and formal findings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Chingula?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you for waiting, and congratulations, and hopefully you love your remodel. How exciting. Great, thank you so much. That concludes our public hearings this evening. We're going to move back to new business at this time. And we will go to 7.3. 7.3 is an action item. It's to authorize the police to accept grant number G240R0003A, Nampa Police Department Fixed Winged Unmanned Aerial Vehicle, in the amount of $170,000 for the use of purchasing one extended flight fixed wing UAV with additional batteries. This is pending approval in the FY25 budget amendment.
Moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Yes, question?
So is the entire purchase being covered by the grant?
Thank you for clarifying that. Is the entire purchase being covered by the grant? The batteries and everything is
Yes.
all covered?
Yes, the only match that PD has is sending a couple pilots to training.
Okay, that's in your training budget currently?
I think it's in the 25 budget.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, there was a motion and a second. That was discussion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Chingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
7.4 is an action item. This is to authorize the Parks and Rec Director to sign a professional services agreement with Ardura Group for project coordination and construction administration support for the Midway Park Phase 3 in the amount of $174,747. This does not say time and materials not to exceed, but I would assume it is time and materials not to exceed. This has been reviewed, and it is approved in the FY24 and FY25 budgets.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion or questions? Yes,
Mayor,
David Bills,
a
yes.
couple of comments. I've noticed from the spring, summer, and now to this point that projects get approved and they're in the budget, and then following 2 to 4 weeks thereafter, we're then approving the construction administration contracts separate from the original project. It would seem that in the 2 or 3 that we've approved in the last 90 days, that the city is spending over $500,000, if not more, on these support contracts, and that it seems like it would be helpful if we started exploring in-house admin of construction management and some of these ancillary requirements versus paying time and materials, so to speak, on to engineering firms. I know we've proved, and this will add to it, we'll be up in somewhere between the 500,000 and 700,000 that we've approved in the last few months. And it just seems like for that kind of money, we could bring 2 to 3 qualified individuals in to be doing this. So.
I appreciate your comment on that. And you know what's interesting? Jeff's probably like you're singing my song right there, because we've talked about that over the years, and we've added engineers and different ones in with the skill set and project managers to help do that. Parks has been a little different because we've done a little bit more of that on our streets projects and some of our water projects. Parks doesn't have that skill set internally to do that. But it is a discussion to be had, and I would recommend that discussion come forward with our small committee, which is working with building departments. So as we review all of these projects, I think it's a very good point. At this time, I don't think we have, unless you're asking that we not move forward, but I think, and that would be my question back to you as it relates to this motion. Because I think they're ready to move forward.
Yeah, they're ready to move. I've just seen the pattern, and so we're up against that, hey, we got to move forward with this. But I think from a managerial point of view, whether you're managing parks getting built or some pipeline infrastructure getting done, the process is pretty the same, and people are astute, so.
Mm-hmm. Cody, would you like to come forward? Are you prepared to speak to this particular
Yes,
discussion?
thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. To Councilman Bill's comments, Napa Parks Department does not have the internal capabilities or skill set to perform this, but we are very happy if that were a position within the city to perhaps fall under Public Works or something like that. If there was some sort of sharing or cost share or some sort of model that would work, we'd be very happy to explore that.
I have a quick question. I think I did ask Darren this question, I believe, early on. What is the duration of this particular construction management position? Because I think that they did negotiate and reduce the hours on this, but how many years does this go over?
This is a 42-week project, I understand.
Less than a year.
Okay. 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 Well,
Yeah, Wow's right. That's why I'm raising
this
it.
is what is the percentage right off the top of my head for this? Because this is a $5 million, is it budgeted at 5? Or is it 4?
It's less than 5, Mayor. I don't recall that number offhand. It's just over 4, I believe, but when I did the math earlier at my desk, it was right around 4.5%.
4.5%? Okay.
Was the percentage for the construction management piece.
So I guess I have a question. Is that high for Councilman Haverfield?
I was just going to ask, who's the contractor?
The general contractor for construction is CSC or Compliance Solution.
Okay, so they'll have their own mobile on site, correct? Will Ardura have their own job shack as far as well on site, or will they utilize the mobilization of the general contractors?
In previous phases of the park, Ardura would just arrive. They have an office in town, and they would just arrive daily or however often their contract spells them out. They didn't have an on-site presence continuously.
So is there more than one individual from Ardura Group that's going to be tasked with this project?
Typically, it was 2. It was an engineer and then an EIT for photos and other aspects of the work.
Daily?
Not daily. This scope of work was negotiated down. I think there were like 50 site visits over the 42 weeks. That's what was included with this scope.
I mean, again, back to Councilman Bill's point, $184,747 for 42 weeks for 1 or even 2 individuals is quite excessive from my standpoint of observation and supervision. They're not doing the actual work themselves. They're just watching the work that's being done by this other company that you mentioned. So I think it's quite excessive as far as from a standpoint of just the value associated with the service being provided. That's my general feel.
Mayor, my question, whether it be staff or councilman, what would the alternative be at this point if we didn't approve this funds for this project to go forward?
I'm sorry, question then. Did Ardura do the original design for this this layout?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, yes, they did.
So they've already been paid a substantial amount of money for the design of the project. So now we're just talking about the construction administration services that they would be providing, which again is on a weekly, every other week, maybe even a monthly basis as far as of observation, because work doesn't happen that quickly. For them to be reviewing submittals, again, that's just a few hours at most a day, if even that. So I question the excessive amount that's been arrived at. They'll take what you give them, but that seems like it's a lot of money to be paid for general just observation, not an actual construction value that's being proposed, because you're still paying the general contractor as well.
So I have a question for council, because it's a very, very good point. With that, Tom Points is online this evening. I don't know, so the key is, 1, the skill set. Within our team, we probably have the skill set for the various elements. However, I don't know if we have the bandwidth. This would be more of a public works or construction management side. As Cody said, this is not public works expertise, and so we need to ensure that we have the right people with the right reporting structure that have the skill set to actually perform the work. And so this would be a discussion that we'd need to have with Tom Points more than likely of bandwidth. Do we have the bandwidth to actually perform the service? If we don't, could we hire someone to actually do this? And then would we be able to put them toward, as I'm looking at Crystal and Jeff over here, to other projects in the city at a later time? Because it's difficult to hire someone for one project. So we may save money, but when you're hiring an employee, they're looking for longevity, right? So I'm not sure where to go with that, but
Logically, the person would be orchestrating 3 to 5 projects at any given time.
Right.
And in various phases, and going from project to project during the course of a day and throughout the week. So I'm raising the issue not in an effort to kill the project, or I mean, we've already approved the project. This is now to do this other work. I just see the city is spending a tremendous amount that could be brought in-house and could be run fairly efficient under current leadership. So,
Mayor?
Yes.
So a question that I have before I say my next piece is this something that we need to have discussions with Tom Points before we approve tonight? Because how I see with my current motion, I would rather have this continued and discussed than a voted and approved on or denied tonight. Is that something that we have the ability to do?
Possibly. And then Tom is online. Tom, would you like to give us any comments on this? Would that be okay? Let's
Please.
defer to Tom. Are you there, Tom? I'm not, he's muted. I'm not hearing from Tom at the moment. Crystal, Jeff, would you guys like to make any comments?
Yeah, Mayor, council members, I hope I'm not misspeaking for Tom. Currently, we do not have the capacity to take that on. Public Works has one construction inspector to maintain all of our projects. With the reorg, we're looking to get a second inspector, which would be really great. We utilize that current inspector on almost all of our city projects. The federal projects that we get grants on typically have requirements that we have to contract out. We cannot do that in-house as part of the grant assurances. And then the larger projects like the wastewater treatment plant and things like that require multiple staff year-round. So that's not something that we could take on without a large staff of people.
So,
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Reynolds.
So this number from all the projects I work on is not out of line for what we're seeing in the market. However, for the $184,000, like Councilman Bills referenced, one project manager should be able to handle 3 to 4 projects on a continual basis by themselves and go project to project all during the week. So I look at that number and I think, well, we could hire 2 project managers and take care of this, but finding them is a tough situation. They're really, really impossible to find good project managers in today's market. And it's going to be a ways out. So I'm in agreement with Councilman Bills on we need to look at this as overall, but I'm not against approving this the way it stands so we can get this project rolling, because I think that our issue at hand is longer term than what we have here.
Adding to that, the thing that just came to my mind, this is funded through impact fees, correct? Impact fees, I don't believe will pay for a staff member. So then we're getting into a gray area, and I'm not sure how we go through that, because impact fees will not fund a position, so then it becomes a cost to the city to hire an employee that otherwise is being funded a project as part of the impact fees that are paying for this project. And so, again, that's a different discussion. Do we take on, does the city want to take on those? Yes, it saves money, except now it's an expense of the city and our taxpayers to fund a position that otherwise is funded through impact fees, where impact fees are not going to be funding full-time city positions. I don't think you can apply it either, but I'd like somebody else to speak to that.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, okay.
Can you come back up? So the contract's already been let with that CC, whoever it was.
Yes.
They can start work tomorrow if they have a contract, they have an authorization to move forward. They
The
have a critical.
contract has been authorized to sign. I have not yet brought it back for the mayor's signature.
So they have a critical path as far as to completion. It's already been defined. You've probably been provided with that. Is that correct?
Are you referring to like a schedule?
Yeah.
Construction schedule? I have not received that yet.
Okay. So that's something that they would be providing as a part of their service to you as the owner.
Yes.
They also have all the specifications on the different material types that'll be going in place. It's all designed. That's all already established. All we're talking about now is just somebody from the original design group watching what's going on to make sure that what they're doing is per the specs that they've provided for the project. Otherwise, the general contractor has the game plan already in place to move forward on the project.
That's an accurate description, yes.
Right, and so, Mayor, what I'm saying is, all we're talking about is an individual that will watch the work that's being done. They're not going to be out doing their own leveling, they're not going to be doing anything other than just general observation. That's where I have an issue with the amount of money that's being offered for that service for less than a year's time frame. When we talk about almost $185,000 that could be going towards something else, if it's impact fee dollars, you're correct, you can't be using it for salaries. But it seems like an excessive amount to have gotten to. Half that amount would have been acceptable to me. I can't vote for that much money. Unfortunately, it just seems that we have to make a stand sometime, that we maybe get involved earlier in the process and go down the path.
And Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, Parks and Recreation did negotiate with Ardura. This isn't their first proposal. We reduced the scope to try to bring their fee to what we felt was more reasonable, just based on cutting site visits to the area and really just leaving in what we felt was critical for their testing, for their site observations, for their pay application approvals, all the other parts and pieces we felt were necessary for the project. So it was even higher at one point.
Mayor?
Yes.
So within the packet, it goes through the estimate and the payroll estimate. They're estimating 1,100 hours that they're going to be working on this project for the $184,000. The only reason that I'm hesitating is because Ardura's not here to kind of defend themselves in their own bill estimate. With that being said, I'm teetering whether I want to pull my motion and have this continued to next council meeting to just get some of these questions answered, whether it be by Councilman Bills and Councilman Haverfield or not. But I do think it's excessive as well to think that they're full-time employees specifically for this one project for us, because there's only 2,000 hours in a year, and they're doing 1,100 of it at this Midway project. And now I've just convinced myself I would like to pull my motion.
I'll pull my second.
Okay, so we've pulled, excuse me, we have pulled the motion and the second, and I think the will of the council is to pause this evening, come back and have further discussion, and we can bring it forward, but not to go ahead and sign the agreement at this time. Okay, that would be the decision.
Mayor?
Yes.
Do we need to bring it back forward on a date certain, or it's pulled?
It's just an action item, and we will discuss it, and we'll let you bring it. Let's have some internal discussions, and then you can bring it forward after that. We need to just figure out what that option might be. It is very important, and I know our council members understand this better than I, that the construction management is important, and that you have a skilled eye, and to ensure that all the work is being performed as it was designed and is to be constructed. That said, let's identify how a mechanism to get it done in a cost-effective fashion is what we're hearing. So we'll figure that out. And so, Cody, let's follow up and have a discussion about that. Thank you so much.
Mayor,
Thank you, yes.
with my polling of the motion, I would like to make it very clear, if Ardura is watching online, it is not to cancel the contract with them per se. It's just an explanation of where the 1,100 hours is going for this project specifically. Full-time employees not out at Midway Park is what I'm hearing, but if they can explain that there's somebody on site for 1,100 hours in a year, or the 42 weeks, full-time, I will rightfully make that motion again to bring it forward and finish it. I love Midway Park more than anybody else, but there was good points brought up, so I hope they're hearing that, knowing this isn't us being in bad faith. It's just crossing our T's and dotting our I's properly.
Mayor, and if I could follow up on that, if they can provide us with a list of their general conditions of what they're providing for those dollars that we're talking about here, if they're mobilizing on site with their own trailer, all those costs would be associated. I mean, that's what the general contractor is going to be providing, so I imagine they'll just be taking advantage of what's already going to be out there. But if they can provide something that validates the number, then that would be helpful in the decision as well.
Would you like to come back?
Just one quick question, I'm sorry. Was it not spelled out in the contract in the packet well enough? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, normally what you see in a general services agreement, especially with a general contractor or supervisory role, there's a list of what they're providing, but the general contractor is going to be providing their general conditions, which includes all the costs and associated costs for that line item amount. We're not seeing that here. It's just more of a general services agreement, which, again, is to Councilman Griffin's point, if there was something that would validate, then we would have something to work with. Right now, it's just too open-ended.
Thank you.
Cody, I'll help you. We'll maybe schedule a meeting with a couple council members and further discuss and figure out where to go. Thank you. Okay, we are going to move on to
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I just have a quick comment on this page 403. There's a labor estimate that shows what Ardura is doing, and I feel like their contract is pretty clear the way it's written, so I would encourage that to be read in detail at some point.
403 is a breakdown of the other contractors that bid the project.
My point, once again, coming back just with that comment, that's where I pulled that 1,100 hours. It was written out, and I read the scope of work. I read what was stated there. But if there's not somebody on site and there's not somebody satisfying their 42 weeks worth of work, that's what 1,100 hours would total into. That's my only comment of just, more than anything, I kind of want to hear from them what the daily routine is for 184,000. It's written here, yes, but just an explanation of where is our team, why aren't they on site, what's the work that's actually being done rather than written out in the scope of work or in the projected hours section.
Okay. So I think what I'd like to ask council to do, if there are any further comments, questions, concerns, I think let's get with Cody, and Cody will work through and try to figure out what it would, where we need to go from here, recognizing we don't currently have staff to do this, so we need to identify how to get it done. So thank you so much, but let's be prepared. Maybe we'll get the work done and come back in 2 weeks. So thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move to 7.5. This is to authorize the mayor to sign a local professional services agreement with Atlas Technical Consultants for the construction, engineering, and inspection of Grimes City Pathway. This is partially approved in FY24 budget with some remaining funds pending approval in the budget amendment, which we just completed. So do you need a presentation from Crystal, or what's the will of the council?
So in the summary, Mayor, it doesn't specify the dollar amount, so I was trying to find it in the details. We're
Thank you,
approving a
Crystal.
contract for something that we're, at least in the summary, so I was just trying to
Good point.
get
Good
to
point.
the.
Yeah.
Mayor, Councilman Bills, the reason why it's not readily available is because we've already paid our match, so I'm not asking for any additional money at this time. But the total for this contract is $73,945. The city match was $5,427.56. Federal aid was $68,517.44.
So the city's coming up with 2 or 5% of what's required.
7.34%, yes, sir.
I knew you'd know the exact.
I'm sorry, and we had talked about this, I'm just forgetting it at the moment. So the reason the dollar isn't mentioned on here is that no additional dollars are being requested from the city, is that correct?
Mayor, that is correct. So,
It's just basically approval to sign the agreement.
yes, so we signed a state-local agreement with the Idaho Transportation Department signifying that we would approve this contract, paid the money at that time, and now we have the contract to sign.
Thank you, Crystal. I know we talked about all of that. Thank you.
So moved.
Okay.
I have a question for
Okay, we have a motion on the table, so we need to either.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Yes, discussion?
I'm just trying to wrap my mind around Atlas. Is this the same Atlas that does geotechnical engineering?
They do materials testing and inspection, yes.
Yeah, I hire them quite often as far as on projects, so I wasn't aware that they did construction engineering. Is it actual engineering that they provide, or is it more staking and those type of services?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, it's called construction engineering and inspection on the federal aid documentation, which is why it's called. There is a licensed professional engineer that is project managing the inspection of this.
Okay.
And then there's boots on the ground inspectors as well as certified people for testing.
That's what I understood them to be, is more of a special inspection service and geotechnical reports, not actual construction engineering. So that's what was throwing me. If it was the same company.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Any
Mayor?
other discussion?
Not that it really matters, but in our packet, it's $1 off of what Crystal said. It's $73,946 is what's posted on page 410, just for transparency.
And calling me out.
Thank
You're good. I just wanted everybody to know that that's
Thank
what was in the record.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Jingula?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
7.6 is an action item. It's to authorize the mayor and the Public Works Director to sign Phase 1 Pre-Construction Services Construction Manager General Contractor contract with IMCO Construction for the wastewater treatment plant Group G Headworks replacement project in the amount of $363,250.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Same hesitancy, yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Jingula?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
7.7 is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor and the Public Works Director to sign a task order with Brown and Caldwell to provide owners advisor support service to the Water Renewal Program Project Group G Headworks and the Water Smart Grant Support Services in the amount of $184,364, time and material not to exceed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Question? Jeff, you had mentioned that there was going to be some facility upgrades. This doesn't include any of those facility upgrades, is that correct?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, no, this does not.
That'll be coming at a later time?
Correct, it was approved in the FY25 budget for design.
Pardon?
Design was approved in the FY25 budget.
Okay, so what you said that we'd be talking about is still yet to be discussed?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Bills?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Jingula?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
That concludes our new business items, and now we'll move to unfinished business. Our first or only action item is the first reading of ordinance for the zoning map amendment for RS from RS to RD zoning district for Sierra Meadows Addition subdivision at a .57 acre parcel addressed at 9 South Sugar Street for Centurion Engineers. And it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, to provide an RD two-family residential zone designation for a portion of certain lands commonly known as 9 South Sugar Street, Nampa, Idaho, County Parcel R31885, comprising approximately 0.71 acres, more or less. Determine that said zoning is in the best interest of the citizens and consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. Rezoning said property from RA Suburban Residential to RD two-family residential, providing for recordation, instructing the city engineer to designate said property as RD two-family residential on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, subject to the terms and conditions specified by the City of Nampa, and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map accordingly, providing for an effective date and repealing all ordinances, rules, and regulations and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
I'd move that we pass this under suspension of rules.
Second.
Mayor Kling? I'll be
Yes.
abstaining from the vote.
Okay, thank you. Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez? Jingula?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
That concludes our regular agenda this evening. We do have an executive session, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061B, which has to do with evaluation dismissal, or basically to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employer, or staff member.
So move.
Roll call.
Rodriguez. Pingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Satterfield.
Yes.
Griffin. Bills.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. We will adjourn.